Hey everybody, back again to talk to you about letting agents. So yesterday we spoke about estate agents and today we're going to talk about letting agents. So letting agents are obviously people, for those of you who want to buy and hold and rent. What I would say first and foremost is if you are getting a buy to let property, you need a buy to let letting agent to manage that property. And for your HMOs, you need an HMO specialist letting agent to manage your HMOs. The role of a letting agent is they're the person between you and the tenant. So if there's any issues in the property, the letting agent are the first port of call for the tenant. That's why they charge you a fee, because they're managing your property for you. Now, most of the time, you're probably not even going to hear from the tenant or the letting agent about the property. That's the ideal situation. But there are times when, for example, you may have massive winds like we had some last year, where it might affect fences. If you've got trees in the garden, for example, branches may cause damage to fences, or damage to cars or what have you. I've seen that happen in the past as well. And the tenant will obviously report that to the letting agent, but then the letting agent reports it to you. So that's their role. Basically, they're the in between you and the tenant. Now, in terms of when you get letting agents involved, I think that you buying a house, it going through refurb, and then being engaging the letting agent at that point, I personally think that it's too late by that point. I think that you should be speaking to the letting agent as a part of your due diligence. So when you're on Rightmove or Zoopla or whatever site you choose to use to have a look at the rental markets, you also can be speaking to the letting agents in the area that cover that area and getting them to give you an idea of what rents go for, so that you can also cross-reference that with the information that you found doing your desktop study. Okay, so at that point, I think that's when you should really be engaging letting agents. Now, you can, when the refurb's ongoing, you can speak to letting agents and arrange appointments for them to come out, but obviously they would want to come out when the work or the majority of the work has been complete. I think once you've rented a few properties with them, and if you're staying to the same scope and they have an idea of your work and what things are going to look like, then they'll probably come out a bit earlier, or you can have a conversation with them maybe mid refurb or early refurb. But if, and again, disclaimer, this is based on the experience I have had with letting agents. I can't speak for everyone. This has been my experience. And so I can't remember what I'm saying now. So yes, if they're familiar with your work, they know what standards you do the properties to, and you stick to the same scope, you could probably speak to them a bit earlier. But if you're new and they're new and they don't really know much about you, and they'll obviously need to see the property once all the work has been finished. They are also the people who are responsible for marketing your property. So they will come around, they'll take pictures, and they will just get that put online, and they will deal with all the interest that's going to come in. They deal with the viewings. They tell you what type of people have expressed an interest, what type of people have made applications. They tell you about the background of the people, and basically they give you all the information so that you can make the decision, but you don't have that one-to-one contact with the tenant, and that's their role. I generally tell coaching students to look at about 10% fee in terms of what they would charge you, and obviously that depends on your rent. So depending on your rent, I recommend that you go with a letting agent that charges you around the 10% mark. If you find letting agents that charge less, by all means, if you want to try them out, then that is up to you. I can't control. I'm not going to tell you exactly what you want to do, because I feel life is the best teacher sometimes. But in my opinion, anything less than 10%, unless you've been referred to me by somebody who is reliable, who is reputable, and they've experienced an outstanding service from them personally, I wouldn't be inclined to use a letting agent that charges less than 10%. At one of our letting agents, they charge 12, and I will pay that to him all day, because he is just so thorough. I just love the way that he does his work. I love the way he does his job. It's just so seamless for us, and that's how it should be. So, for example, I know if I have a phone conversation with him, he's following that up in an email with comprehensive notes about the conversation that we've just had. I love it, because it means you know where you stand, I know where I stand, we know what was said, it's there, it's all good. Then when he's going out to inspect the property, do like a 6-month check, he will let us know that it's due. He will go out, do the check, phone us while he's outside the property to tell us what his findings are, get back to the office, follow it up with an email. Then if there's any problems, that's in the email as well. Then he makes recommendations based on his own resources that they have. Like they have their own facilities management team that they use to manage properties, not just for us, obviously for lots of landlords. So we don't have to use people from our own wealth team if we don't want to. We can tap into their resources. They will just go out, do the work, and just invoice us for the work. Or, that's not obligatory. We can engage our own if we want to. And basically that's how it works. And I can't fault him. And I will pay 12% any day. So, I recommend 10%, but if you can find someone and that's saying you get what you pay for. I know it doesn't always apply, but sometimes it really does. And I don't mind paying him that extra 2%, because I know I'm going to get that service. So what I would also recommend, I touched on having more than one person in your components, in your compartments, and I don't think letting agents are any different. I would always have at least 3 letting agents looking at a property, giving me an idea of how much they would want it renting out for, how much I would be able to rent it out for, and obviously telling what their fees are, their services are. You need to compare. Yeah, everybody wants to take your money willingly, but you need to, especially if you're new and you don't really have an expectation from a letting agent, or you don't know what to expect, at least if you can compare 3 people and ultimately go with your gut as to who you want to do business with, because that's what you're doing, you're doing business with them, then, it allows you to make a comparison and come to a conclusion. Whereas if you just gone to the letting agent around the corner just because, it's just down the road, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're the best letting agent for you. So there's some food of thought for you there with regards to letting agents. Hope you have a productive day, and I will be back tomorrow with another one. Thanks guys, take care. Bye.